Good morning and welcome to the Insight. But before progressing into the program, let's first apologize for the delay in kickstarting the program. Today on the Insight, we will be looking at the Constitution versus the bulldozers with Lagos demolitions in view. You may recall that in Lagos State recently, there have been cases of demolitions, with the most recent one happening at Alaba International Market in Lagos, which the Lagos State government has primarily, through its agency of Lagos State Building Agency and Control, has come out to say that these demolitions were carried out in public interest to prevent building collapse. However, to give insight, X-ray, and give a postmortem analysis on this very issue is Ozo Barrister Ofokansi, a private legal practitioner, human rights activist, and a social analyst. Ozo.
Thank you,
You're welcome to the Insight again.
Thank you, Uche, for having me this morning.
All right. Also, for want of time, let's look at it. The issue at stake here is a constitutional one. Now, as a lawyer, let's first of all help us draw attention on what the Constitution is saying as regards to Section 41 and 43 of the 1999 Constitution, where it has amended, 1999 Constitution has amended, where it has to do with the right of every Nigerian citizens to live and invest in any part of the country.
Well, you see, the section you have just cited is they fall under our rights.
Okay.
Under Chapter 4 of the Constitution on what people classify as fundamental rights of individuals. These are rights that are guaranteed by law of our nation. That's the grand norm. That's the Constitution. Whether it was drafted by us or whether it was given to us by the military, it is still the Constitution. We don't have any other one yet. So that law provides the freedom of every individual to live, coexist, invest, and do business in any part of Nigeria, insofar as the business is legitimate. Young boys will say, insofar the business is legit. So if it's a legitimate business, you have a right to do it in all parts of Nigeria. If you recall, sometime, I think early before the war or slightly after the war, I think before the war, there was a time an Hausa man was the mayor of Enugu here, the one we call local government chairman. You also know that a lot of other tribes, like the Yorubas, have been doing business in Enugu. You heard of Adelabu Street. That thing didn't just come about. There was a certain Adelabu who built on that street. And the houses, I think, is still there, unless they have sold it. And very many other ones, you can name them, they are everywhere. So, but that right also has some little limitations. That limitation, one is that you must abide by the law of the state where you are doing that business or where you are investing. That's why sometimes you now see in the southern part here, there are often clashes between herdsmen and farmers.
Okay.
Which now the herdsmen somehow have turned into terrorism. Now, they have every right to do their business in the south. But that business must have to conform with the law of the southern part of Nigeria. You don't need to jump into somebody's farm, eat up his crops in the guise of your rearing cattle. But if you can buy land, set up a ranch, nobody stops you. But the problem is that many of them want to do it just for free and then move about, roam about freely. Now you also look at the other aspect of the investment. That is our people investing in Lagos. They know the Igbo man, let us use it that, the Igbo man investing in Lagos. Lagos have their own rules. They have their own laws, including town planning authority, just like we have in Enugu here. They have their own town planning authority rules and laws. If you want to invest there, you must have to comply with that law or the rules. But the underlying factor here is that many of those people who are developing, they claim they have complied with these rules. But in the actual sense of the word, they still find an excuse to demolish what they have invested on. Excuse me. And if you look at the area where that was recently demolished as Panda, you were even talking about Alaba erroneously. It was as Panda Trade Fair area that was recently demolished, not even the core Alaba International Market. So the land in question was acquired by the federal government under, I think, under Obasanjo's regime. And it was the federal government that gave this land to these developers who are primarily Igbos. But Lagos state government, federal government can give you the land, but also if you want to develop it, you have to abide by the laws of Lagos in developing the area. But my worry is that a two-story building, it doesn't start and end in an hour. You must have to work on it over months, sometimes year, depending on your financial capacity. Now, Lagos state government saw them doing this thing, knowing fully well they acquired this land from the federal government. Now, the people also got the approval from the Lagos State Planning Authority, from the fillers who got. Now, the Lagos State government is now saying that the people who gave them the approval are not the right people. So who is to know which one is the right people? If you come here and say you want to visit Aneke TV and you want to talk to the anchorman of Insight, and they showed you Uchosai, you discuss with Uchosai, maybe you bring the advert. At the end of the day, the advert didn't air. And you will come back here and say, why didn't you air my advert? You say, no, where is the money for the advert? They say, I gave it to the anchorman of Insight. Is it not to your staff? You say, no, the man who gave the money is not the right person. So that's exactly what is happening in Lagos. So, but you also find out that our own brothers, like most of the things that happen because they live in their own clusters. If they spread themselves out, this kind of thing will be happening. Let me just put it this way. If you go to Alaba International Market, the whole market is concentration of Igbos.
Okay.
If you come to Aspanda Trade Fair Market, it is a concentration of Igbos. Now, Idumota, virtually all parts of Idumota, and all the ground, all the high-rise buildings, all their warehouses there are owned by Igbos. But if they mix up with other tribes, maybe if a Hausa man wants to invest in Aspanda, they allow him. If Yoruba want to invest in Aspanda, they allow him. If Kanuri want to invest, they allow him. Or they share the lands to those people, even if they have acquired the land. And the people who are demolition wants to bring in sentiment into it. They will now find out that if they are demolishing one because he's an Igbo man, the next one there is a Yoruba man's own. So they won't demolish the Igbo man's own and leave the Yoruba man's own.
Okay.
So that kind of mix-up habitation could have solved some of the problems. But when you live in clusters and this pathological hatred some tribes in Nigeria have for the Igbo race, they invade the place. From number one to the last number there is owned by one tribe. Then the fear of domination is always there. But the thing is that what I think they are doing is trying to provoke the developers, to look inwards to their own area. Like Obasanjo said, if you are afraid that the Igbo race will take over Lagos, it is not by demolishing their property, because if they want to make Lagos very uncomfortable, that is very simple. Sack every Yoruba man under employ of any Igbo business, eject any Yoruba tenant who is living in an Igbo man's house. The next day, you see the Yorubas kneeling down and begging them, want to come back, please don't go again. So, but this doesn't go well based on our law. It says everybody is free to coexist, invest, and the Section 41 I have cited is a ground norm. But again, the people are finding loophole to circumvent it, and that is what is causing the problem. That loophole to circumvent is telling you that the person you got approval from is not the right person. But there's no way you can tell me you will build two-story building. No staff of Lagos Town Planning Authority have seen you building. No staff of Ministry of Health have seen you building. No staff of Housing Regulatory Authority in Lagos have seen you building. Now, when you finish building and then you paint, They will bring Caterpillar D8 and level the thing up and tell you didn't build according to specification.
All right. Before I ask my next question, I will request our directors to play that very short clip on this incident. All right. Sir, given all that you've said, do you see this as mainly targeted at the Igbos?
Of course, yes. You can see from that clip we just played, the house is not under construction. It's a completed, well painted. You can see that been painted, it is completed. So if you had allowed somebody to build, but this is not the first demolition in Lagos. This is also not the second. This is not the third, not even the fourth. You keep on demolishing, and people keep on building. And the irony of these things is that the Igbo man, wherever he goes, because we keep on saying it, that wherever you go, any part of the world, and then find an Igbo man, run away from there because that place is uninhabitable. So the Igbo man, wherever he goes, like when I was giving my intro on herdsmen, the Fulani herdsmen who want free land, who graze and destroy people's crops. If Igbo man gets into Kanuri Empire, for instance, today, just give him the next 5 years, he will try to erect his own shop. He must still be a tenant somewhere. Give him the next 10 years, he will buy a land there and build his own house. I'll tell you that that is very comfortable in that place. All over the world, the Igbos are well settled. It is not only in merchandise, also in other areas of life. I said it here the other day, I think I was on this television. I would say that you might be sick here in Nigeria and they are taken to Canada for treatment. Lo and behold, you get to Canada, you find the people, doctors treating you in Canada are still Nigerian doctors. Nurses attending to you in Canada are still Nigerian nurses. But then you ask yourself, why can't they do such things here? Because the environment did not showcase them as profitable people. Environment sees them as threats. And excuse me, until the people stop seeing the Igbo man as a threat, that problem will continue.
All right. You said other tribes see these Igbos as a threat to them. But can we equally, are there other underlying situation that you could say has given rise to this? Let's say, could you link this to any political situation?
Practically no. It has no political connotation. I don't see it like that. Even before politics. During the pogrom of 1967, was there any political alignment that was going on? There was none. Except that Aguirre was killed, but it was a military push which wanted to stabilize Nigeria by bringing the universal constitution that everybody now has to be part of Nigeria, and then you come to the center to collect what you want to collect. That was why he was killed. But that has not, the ones that happened those days have no relationship with politics.
Okay.
It is because these people, you don't like them. And they don't like them not because they did anything to you, but because of the industrial nature of their psyche. That's why many people detest the Igbo nation. As far as I know, being an Igbo man, the Igbo man is ubiquitous. He's everywhere. And being mercantile in nature, He doesn't like to depend on anybody. They want to be independent, egalitarian. They want to be independent on their own. And they move ahead with their lives. But the thing is that people keep on putting stumbling blocks. And until the nation learns to respect that ingenuity of the Igbo man, this country, at 65, will still be crawling. After the war, the machines manufactured by the Igbo race just to fight the war were stored at the War Museum in Umuahia. The federal government locked up the place and neglected it. Nobody developed on it. Nobody capitalized on it. They just abandoned it there. If it were a nation that wants to develop, forget the ingenuity or whoever created it. Forget the tribe or whoever created it. Go and improve on those things. Get those engineers to pass that skill to younger ones. But they allowed the thing to die. That is the seed. That's why I said politics, well, you don't rule out politics in everything one does. But then, the underlying factor here is that there are areas where there is no politics. Okay. Just sheer. You see, I think it was the APC chairman in Edo State one day that was when the governor said, before Peter becomes to Edo State, you should have to tell him. And you're asking them, who are you? For Peter to take a visa from you to enter Edo State. Because that's what it looks like. If you don't clear from the governor, you won't come to Edo State. And the APC chairman was broad on national television like this to tell the world that he hates Peter. Open. And I don't know, he could say, I don't like Peter Obi or I dislike him. The use of the word hate is so strong. He said, no, that's a place to the extreme. He doesn't see a middle course. If he doesn't like something, he hates that thing. So you find out how blunt that one was, speaking about a candidate that was accepted by all Nigerians. Let me put it, in fact, by 80% of Nigerians accepted Peter Obi as, in fact, the world see Peter Obi as one of the best candidates Nigeria could have ever produced since their independence. But yet, the powers that be, that's why I said you don't rule out politics in anything one does. So you were asking me whether there is political undertone. There may be.
All right.
It's very likely.
All right. Anyway, let me not digress now. But in fairness to Lagos State government, they've come out to say that the demolished buildings contravened the ruling plan, that most of them are illegal and constitute environmental emergency, like some of the buildings they cited, they say were built on or near the canals.
Well, we have seen the distance between the canal and the buildings. And in any case, the Igbos has ever recovered land from water in Lagos. There's a lot of waters in Lagos and narrow down the canal, most canals. The Lagos State government did not. Alaba International Market. I was still a student in the university where it was being consulted by the Igbos who were ejected from Alaba Lego in Ojo local government area around the Ajegul area. A lot of Igbos were ejected from there. They now decided, let us go and give us a vision. They then gave them this land towards Banagri Road. That place was a swamp, complete swamp. You see there, you see raffia palms and everything growing everywhere. You see water tortoise, as if to say you are walking inside the ocean. But that's Alaba today. Those waters receded because the Igbo man feed those areas given to them by the Lagos State government then. And in any case, if they contravene the building regulations, that is what I said. Why did they leave them all those while building those houses, getting whatever approval they are getting from the state government, having bought the land from the federal government? Why leave them until they complete? Why not stop it at the nick of time? Why not stop it?
Okay, so is your considered opinion that this demolition in Aspanda, in Lagos, in Lekki as well, contravenes the position of the Constitution of Nigeria?
Of course, it does.
All right.
The right to invest, because the people came out with their papers. We got this deed of grant from the federal government, the owners of the land. We went for building plan, it was given to us. The approval was given by the Lagos Town Planning Authority. Look at all the approvals. So they don't know that place was near a canal when they were giving the approvals.
All right. Let's look at, from this line of argument, what next can these investors, these individuals that have legal instruments, say the C of O, or legally recognized documents, what else can they do now?
What they can do, which I have ever advised, is that they should not put their eggs in one basket.
But it has happened.
I'm coming. If it has happened now, it doesn't mean they are all bankrupt. They can be. Invest 60% in Lagos. Or invest 55% in, let's say you live in Lagos. No problem. We don't want anybody to come back home. But go to your own home area. There are very virgin lands to develop. I'll give you a little instance, Uche. There was a time this Alaba International Market, people there had a meeting. They wanted to create a similar Alaba International Market down southeast here. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was one of the lawyers that was consulted to source for space. A space was gotten between Obekenike and Ugogonike towards the express that then brought the new road going to Nsukka. The Igwe of Nika was consulted. His Royal Highness Igwe Barrister Emeka Ugwu is still alive. We told the people that the land gotten there is, we want land 10 times the size of that Alaba in Lagos. You see one beauty in business. If there is a cargo airport wing in Enugu, and you get your consignments from Japan and China and flow them into Enugu through the cargo airport, because they don't have any port here unless you use Port Harcourt. And then that market thrives because there's a very close an airport around. People who are in Lagos, whether they are Yorubas, people who are in Kaduna, whether they are Hausas, people who are in Calabar, whether they are Calabarians, they will come to where that it is. You can see the example people give with Nnewi. Nnewi had this kind of showdown in Lagos over motor parts. They now came and developed the Ankwedo. Developed it an international market. If 90 containers containing motor parts come into Apapa Wharf or Tinkan Island, 90 containers, know that 85 of that 90 containers belong to Nnewi people, motor parts. And they will haul it by road to Nnewi. And people in Lagos will follow them from Lagos to come and buy the thing in Nnewi and go to sell or retail in Lagos. So that's why I said let them invest 45% of whatever they got, or they have gotten in Lagos, down to their various zones. There are people from Enugu, there are people from Imo, there are people from Anambra, there are people from my boy, people from Abia. Go there and invest. Now that other dream was killed because there became a political argument again. Why must we cite everything in Enugu? Why can't other states benefit? You can see the man they call Bukobi. I think he's a religious man. I think they call him a man of God. Have you seen what he's building in Imo State? The distance is just from here to 9th Mile. Clusters of, that is what we call take home. If he has built such a thing in Lagos, who knows? Maybe if someone who goes there, another governor who comes will tell you that it's very close to the highway. Maybe it's not to normal be clearly put up a bulldozer and level it up. And now, your president is trooping to foreign countries almost on a weekly basis, saying they are looking for investors. And the local investors who are investing here, you are demolishing it. And they think investors will rush and come in. And when you demolish, there are no consequences. Most of the demolitions are done illegally without recourse to the rule of law. And they think the world is not seeing it. The world is a global village. So don't forget about investors. No investor is coming here. No investor is coming to Nigeria because your own local investors are being discouraged.
All right. On that note, we'll go on a short break. And when we return, we'll continue to probe on this issue.
Hello, I'm Bebra Wakoba. I am Chidimike Mede.
I am Uche Osai.
I'm Chiwendo Ifeonwankwe.
My name is Obo Obina Samson.
Please keep watching Aneke TV, or you can visit us on our socials like Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, or YouTube, all at Aneke TV.
This is Aneke TV. We move with the world.
Thank you for staying with us. And we are still discussing with Ozo Barrister Ofokansi, private legal practitioner, human rights activist, and a social analyst. And we're dissecting the issue of constitution versus the bulldozers, with special emphasis on the demolitions in Lagos. And Barrister,
Yeah.
you know, we've been talking about this issue, but I want us to take another legal approach to this issue. And I want to ask, talking about execution order, to what extent does the state power to enforce urban planning laws, like say the Lagos Fiscal Planning Permits Regulation in Lagos, supersede or bypass the rights under Section 41 and 43?
It doesn't. The truth of the matter is that it doesn't. It doesn't supersede. The thing is that that's why I said they're acting illegally. Because now, look at the kind of, that's why I said no foreign investors coming here, because before you demolish anybody, it's everywhere. Even when Peter Mbai in Enugu here demolished the Holy Ghost and the shops there and the houses, ordinarily should have gotten a court order. That's the rule. And even people who went to court and got injunction, they ignored it. So the same thing also is happening in Lagos. So it is not peculiar to Lagos alone. So it happened here.
All right, so in these instances, the judiciary is powerless.
We are not powerless, but in the actual sense of we don't go to the judiciary without somebody filing an action. Okay. Judiciary cannot just wake up and say, stop what you are doing. Somebody, an aggrieved party must have to go to court, file an action, get the injunction first, get the judgment first, let them keep on flouting it. On the recording day, we will remind them. Because if we don't remind them today, we'll remind them tomorrow.
Okay.
And nobody can be a judge in your own case. You'll be the arrestor, the prosecutor, the judge. That's what Lagos government is doing. That's what they also did in Enugu when they were building the mega parks.
All right. Let's leave every other thing aside. Let's talk on the realities on ground. Would you, beyond the law, say that this issue would have required engagement from the leaders of Southeast? Being that, like you did mention, there's no seaport in the east. And for example, Enugu State doesn't have a cargo airport. Therefore, our businessmen, the Igbo businessmen, would rather thrive in Lagos than relocating their business here. Don't you see that there's need for engagement from Igbo leaders with the government of Lagos State?
Well, who are the Igbo leaders? That's the question you ask yourself. Is it Johannes and the Igbo? They have not taken a position since that happened. Is it our people who are ministers, like Dave Umaide, who are waiting for their turn to become president when a turn comes to the Igbo land again? Or is it Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, who is busy, trying to gossip and talk like he has no control? Well, the little ones that still have Igbo interests at heart went there. I know Peter B went there. I know, what is his name? Abaribe was there. I also know Tony Moye was there. Victor Me was there. And the Revivers, the Labour Party
governorship candidates in Lagos State.
A lot of them went there. And now, like you said, the Lagos State government said it blocked the canal. They now went to see the canal and measured the distance between the canal and the building. And it was glaring to everybody. It's just like Tinubu telling you that the super highway has been completed 80%. And people went there and said, where is the super highway? You don't wink us into believing what you have not done, that you have done it. Because government achievement is like, it is open. You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. You don't need to advertise it on Aneke TV before people know government is doing something. You don't need to advertise it on any newspaper floating here in Edinburgh before you know, because like Patrick Lumumba said, Professor Lumumba, sorry, he said, if you build a 50,000 project as a governor and use 500 naira to advertise it, then you have built nothing. Because whatever you build speaks for itself. In law, we say, res ipsa loquitur. This thing speaks for itself. So if this studio is a digital studio, I don't need to tell the world a digital studio. If I touch YouTube, I'll see you people there. So it is just normal. So the government that will engage with Lagos State government, who are they? Did the Igbo leaders, excuse me, did the Igbo leaders engage with the government, the Lagos State government, when Oba said if we vote anybody other than APC, that they will throw them into the lagoon? When they were talking to the Igbo, how many Igbo leaders debunked that? When security was being threatened, they were, threatening Igbos with this and that. The Igbo in Lagos said, if you cannot protect us, let us go and get our own Eastern security network to protect us. They clamped the man and detained him for years, though. Before he was, I think he has been released, but he stayed there for close to a year.
All right.
That is the Igbo leaders you want to engage. So the ones that you wanted to engage, they have engaged. But like I said, every Igbo man investing in Lagos should start thinking how to partition his investments so that he will bring some down and then keep some in Lagos. Then as to Enugu being landlocked because they will have no port, you also understand that the only functioning port in Nigeria today is Tinker Island Port Complex and Apapa Wharf. But remember, I have a very wonderful port in Port Harcourt. We have in One. There are very many other ports in Nigeria, but those ones we are deliberately starved of funds so that it can only be Lagos that is functioning.
All right. While we were talking, you mentioned that P2B and some other leaders, including the Lagos State governorship candidate for Labour in Lagos State, we went to visit that area. Could this be said to be a fallout from P2B defeating the sitting president in Lagos in run-up to 2023 election?
But remember they say Tinubu built Lagos. And then something you build, as in they say Uche built the Aneke TV. And all of a sudden they say, let us conduct election here in Aneke TV. Who is going to be the leader of the workforce here? And you trump up yourself for election. Maybe your cameraman who just joined yesterday, trump up himself for election. And they voted the cameraman. You will be happy. I'm asking you, you will be happy. So they say Tinubu built Lagos, but P2B came to Lagos and defeated him in Lagos in an election. So they felt the votes were cast by only the Igbos, but that is not true. Reasonable Yorubas cast their vote for P2B and they are still ready to cast another one. Okay. If you have listened to Dele Farorentimi, I never said it, that until there is a